There's so much that we need to be speaking out about as Christians. And, some of the things we're tracking, obviously, the spending. And oftentimes, that's an issue that many Christians just say, well, it's a money issue. It doesn't matter to us. But it's a moral issue.
It is a moral issue, and it's a biblical issue. But, yeah, where we're headed right now as a country, of course, we all know, a couple of months ago now, Congress passed a non-limited debt ceiling. Right. And I think that was a horrible mistake, and we're going to have to deal with it now. So a battle is underway to get our spending under control. You have people like Mitch McConnell and others who are saying they want to pass a continuing resolution at least up till December. That's going to be hard. Why would anyone want to continue spending of this administration that is paying to keep the borders open, to weaponize our government, to continue pushing woke policies and all of this sort of stuff? Why would we want even one more day of that?
Right.
And so that's where the battle is going to be. You're going to have the conservatives in Congress pushing back, saying we're not going there under any circumstance. And the other side is going to be saying we just need a little bit more time to work through the details. But they've had a year to work through this, and here we are.
Well, I want to ask you about that, because you've had many of the members on the program talking about this as we've been leading up to this moment. And I played the clip at the top of the program of the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. And, she immediately jumps at, well, we shouldn't be going down this path of government shutdown. That's not what the Freedom Caucus and the other conservatives are working for. They're working toward a reasonable approach to the funding of government.
Yeah, let's go back to pre-COVID spending.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I don't think we can talk too much about this because it gets missed. The president says, I've cut the deficit by $1 trillion. Well, we've spent like $3 trillion of extra spending during COVID. And the idea was we're only doing this one time, but that's become a part of normal government spending.
And that's the way government works. Once they get a foot in the door, they never take their foot out. And COVID is a perfect example of that, where we had trillions of dollars of more spending. And now, even by admission of this administration, COVID is over. It is a thing of the past, but we are not going to go back to the past in spending. We're going to keep those outrageous spending levels that we experienced during COVID.
So what conservatives in the House are saying, let's simply go back to where we were before. In fact, I think at 2020 levels, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And so there's actually a little bit of elevated spending levels, but they're saying let's go back to where it's reasonable and let's use that as the benchmark.
That's right. And this administration says, why do y'all want to shut down the government? It is this administration that's pushing the shutdown of the government with their unreasonable demand for more spending. And the spending is on things that are not in the best interest of our country. And that has not only members of Congress, the conservative members, Freedom Caucus and others, but your average citizen in this country. We're watching inflation. We're watching all the chaos, really, that's being created in this economic environment, Bidenomics. And we have to get our financial house under control. There's now movements with various other countries, BRICS, for example, moving away from the dollar. And that is because our dollar is weakening. And so
what's our time frame? What's our time frame here?
Well, it's coming up when Congress comes back here in session. The battle is going to be underway.
So they have till, they have not advanced the 13 appropriations bills.
That's right.
And so government funding ends October 1st.
That's right. And that's when the battle is going to begin. But there, again, we have had all year to know.
But we've seen that this has been a pattern.
It happens every year.
Instead of doing appropriations, which is the reasonable way of governing, they're just doing these continuing resolutions.
That's right. And that is not the responsible way to deal with it. And it's really, we have a responsibility to put forth the appropriation spending bills, let them all go through all the various committees, and then vote on them. But it seems to have become a pattern in recent years to just wait to the last minute and then throw some big omnibus, they call it. And that's what they want to do right now. They want to push.
You're right. And they do it up to the wire.
Right.
They'll do December because everybody wants to go home for Christmas.
And so people will just vote to go home.
Right. And that is a tactic they use continually. So if they do a continuing resolution, it ought to be to January. So when they come back, they got plenty of time to do the right thing and work through it, and not just 11th hour push, vote yes for it.
Yeah, but even with that, I think it's going to be a huge battle. Your strong conservatives don't want to continue this reckless Biden spending levels. They want to stop it now.
All right. Well, I've been out for a month, so I feel like I got to create a little bit of controversy. Just reading yesterday, the Department of Health and Human Services is recommending to the Department of the Drug Enforcement Agency to reclassify marijuana at a lower risk. And this actually has tacit support and sometimes open support from Republicans.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah, I wish I could explain that. I really don't understand. Marijuana is an entry-level drug into who knows where it ends. And I see no good outcome by reclassifying this. I think it is going to open the door for much more problems than what we already have with drugs.
We even saw in the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, there was money earmarked to study psychedelic drugs for treatment for post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? And this is being put forward by Republicans. I mean, Jody, I hear all the time about, the border. The border. We got to secure the border because we have all this fentanyl coming across the border and it's killing Americans. Well, fentanyl is not like something that runs across the border and jumps on you and kills you. You take drugs and it's mixed in with those drugs and it kills you. Why are we not talking about the drug addiction problem in this country and why people are taking drugs?
Well, we're going to have that discussion. We absolutely have to. And I think a good place to start with that is with this whole debate over marijuana.
It is a feeder. It is the gateway drug.
Absolutely.
This is incredible. It escapes me how Republicans see this as a good thing. I think this is where kind of the libertarian mindset has invaded the Republican Party to a degree, and it's this live and let live. We need to have standards of morality that provide structure that benefit all of society.